Hello. All right, everybody. We're going to be going live here just here in a second. I'm glad to have all of you here. This is Josh Wagner, of course, and lots of great things tonight. We're going to be talking about a lot of great stuff, a lot of stuff that affects a ton of us, and I will let myself be seen now at this point. Josh Wagner here. My hair is all floofy tonight, which is fine. Glad that you're. I have a mirror image thing going, so it's hard for me to tell exactly what's going on. Oh boy. So I hope you're doing great. Check in with me if you are getting comfortable or if you're watching the replay. Do let me know where you're checking in from, where you're coming from, and I would love to know if you are all here. And again, whether you are listening to the replay or watching the replay on YouTube, you're watching the replay on Facebook. This is a brand new way of doing things. You know, Facebook wasn't working out for me in your living room. All right, Stephanie, Raymond, that's good. So that's good. So the new system's working pretty well. Hope you guys can hear me okay. So we're going to be talking about something very serious tonight. Hi Lorraine. Hi Jennifer. How you doing? Great. Everybody can check in. That's great. It's pretty cool. This is a much better technology, I think, than the other thing, right? Yeah. This one's a little easy. It wasn't really my fault. Facebook is kind of all over the place with some stuff. So I'm still live on Facebook right now. And I'm live on YouTube, actually, because I made a mistake and I was supposed to be on YouTube here, but it kind of all worked out. Yeah, this is much better. Yeah, the Facebook thing, I could not figure out how to do that, and I'm a pretty smart guy. So, well, anyway, let's get to it. We're going to be talking about surviving rejection tonight. So this is actually something that is it's a topic near and dear to my heart, and it's something I've actually studied. I've studied the psychology of it. I've studied the neurobiology of it. Started about maybe 10 years ago. An article by Kipling William in Psychology Today kind of got me started, and I read his book. At the time, he was, sorry, my hair is all over the place. That's all right. It's floofy, right? Some people think it looks good, floofy. I should have looked in the mirror before I started. But Kipling William at the time was at the University of Toledo. I believe he's at Purdue University right now. But this is what he does. He studies ostracism. He studies rejection. And I think you're going to find it very, very fascinating, interesting. Those of you who are in the live chat right now, what do you know about ostracism? Has anybody ever been rejected here? Has anybody ever been, rejected? I know that I have. Yes. Oh, yeah. I probably see a lot of yeses here, of course. And it hurts. Rejection hurts. And there's a really, really good reason why it hurts. And we're going to go over that right now. Let me switch back over to the slide here real quick. So the first thing I want to talk about is that rejection triggers emotional pain that mirrors physical suffering. Now look at this lady giving it to her husband. And I think she's going to hit him with that. I didn't look at that before I put it in there. I didn't see that she had in her hand some kind of paddle or something there. I know I'm not supposed to laugh, but it is a little funny. Jennifer said applied for a lot of jobs that, of course, some didn't work out. Yeah, we've all been rejected. And oddly enough, rejection triggers emotional pain that mirrors physical suffering. And this correlation is wired into our brain, forming a natural response that can be deeply unsettling and impactful. We're going to dive a little bit more into this. Your brain actually equates rejection with being physically harmed. So I'm going to refer back to Kipling Williams, so the same neural pathways that you use for pain, let's say when you stub your toe, are the same neural pathways that you use when there's emotional turmoil in your life. And if we go into Kipling Williams' extensive research, I read his books. I really spent about 2 years studying this some time ago, so I'm still pretty well versed in it. I'm sure that there's been some advances in it, but his book called Ostracism is something I'd recommend. But so this lady has a headache, and I did that on purpose. But Kipling Williams' extensive research on social ostracism and rejection uncovers a neurological connection. Rejection activates the same areas in the brain as physical pain, shedding light on why it affects us so profoundly. So let me talk about the experiment that kind of got me into this a little bit. I was reading. What do you guys think about that? Like, I'm going to go into a little bit deeper, but what do you think about that? Isn't that nuts? That physical pain or ostracism causes physical pain? I just think that's wild. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't. As Jennifer says, doesn't surprise me. I was let go from a job in a small town where people didn't like me because I wasn't from there. I felt horribly rejected, and it hurt. Yeah, well, so there's a reason. So this is a crazy thing I'm going to tell you here. Kipling Williams put people into an MRI machine, fMRI. So fMRIs are different from regular MRIs, is that they're showing movements, they're showing brainwave patterns, they're showing things functioning. It's called a functional MRI. So it's the same thing, but it's actually showing the movement instead of just taking still pictures, right? So he had this simulator. It was a simulator on a computer, and they hooked these people up to an fMRI while they were playing this game. And it was a game of catch between them and two simulated people, okay? So you'd throw the ball to the simulated guy number 1, he'd throw it to guy number 2, and he'd throw it back to you. Well, after a little while, the program was designed not to throw it back to the person being studied, but to just throw it between 1 and 2. And this is how they know. This is how they know what it lights up. The parts of the brain that are associated with physical assault lit up in the subject's brain. So we'll talk about why that is here in a second. We'll talk about why we're wired this way, because it totally makes sense when you kind of understand that. So he took the experiment further. He did a bunch of experiments with this, but this is one of the ones that I like the best. He did another experiment where he took somebody who was African American, right? And he put them into that same simulator, but he had the simulator look like Klan members. So white robes, pointy hats, that kind of stuff. And so same thing is that they had to play kind of this game of virtual catch. And at some point they stopped throwing the ball to the subject, which makes sense because of kind of what they were representing, right? And the same parts of his brain or her brain, I'm not sure if it was a him or her, I just don't know that, lit up even though it was a Klan member that was represented in the simulation. It didn't matter. He did another experiment where he had a Jewish guy or girl, I'm not sure if a boy, man or woman, but I'm sure he did it a few times, and the representations were of Nazis. And they did the same thing. There was this thing where they were throwing the ball, and then they started throwing the ball with each other. And even though it was like that situation, which of course, one would expect, and also one wouldn't want to play catch with them anyway, the same parts of their brain actually ended up lighting up. What do you guys think of that? Isn't that wild? I just think that that's the wildest thing like I've ever heard in my entire life is that whole thing. And I just think it's absolutely fascinating. Broken hearts. Well, breakups are a form of ostracism. That's why breakups hurt so bad, Wendy. You're absolutely correct about this. So one of the reasons that we're wired like this, and I'll tell you why we're wired like this, and it doesn't matter what you think, how we got here or whatever, it doesn't really make any difference. But one of the things that happens is that we were tribal. We were built into tribes. And so ostracism, if you got kicked out of your tribe, which ostracism is a Greek word for rejection. If you get rejected from your tribe, you're going to die. So let me say that again. If you get rejected from your tribe, you're going to die. Because you can't survive outside all by yourself. You need the support of a community. So our brains are literally wired to equate rejection with physical death. That if we get rejected, we're going to die. So let's say that you're in a dating environment. This is why it's so hard for people to approach each other in a dating environment, because there's this little part of our brain that says, if I approach the wrong person, let's say that I approach somebody whose father's there, or whose brother's there, who has a boyfriend or girlfriend or something like that. If I approach the wrong person, I might get killed. So this is why we get social anxiety a lot of the time, is because deep down inside, social anxiety is a way of protecting us, because if you get kicked out of the tribe, our brain equates that with death. This is why it's awful not to get invited to something. So if you've ever had anything like this go on in your life, you're perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal to be hurt when somebody rejects us. It's perfectly normal. So Jennifer talks about a job that she lost. And again, if you're watching the replay, I didn't record this necessarily right on Facebook, but I am broadcasting it there. But you're welcome to put any kind of comments in that you like. Getting fired from a job. I got fired from a job once. It was awful. It was awful. And they had a really good reason. They didn't really need me in that position anymore. So my position got limited. It still hurt. Getting broken up with. Even leaving. This is why graduations are so powerful, is because you're leaving your tribe to go out into the world. So it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. So this is one of the reasons why we're wired like this, is for this to happen. So let's go on to the next slide here. This is something that is also absolutely fascinating to me. So you have this tough guy over here on the right, and they put him in there for a reason. No one is immune to the effects of rejection. So let me say that again. No one is immune to the effects of rejection, regardless of the status or confidence. So nobody is immune. Doesn't matter who you are, how high you are, how confident you are. We'll talk about that in a second. The difference lies in resilience. So psychologically robust individuals bounce back more rapidly, transforming rejection into a learning opportunity. Psychologically robust individuals bounce back more rapidly, transforming rejection into a learning opportunity. So what does this mean? Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I always kind of put up as the most confident person in the whole world, right? There's nobody more confident than Schwarzenegger, right? Well, that's interesting, Jennifer. Thinking about pledging a sorority, and they vote to decide if you can belong to the group. Yeah, because that's what those things are all about. It's why we're very tribal in nature. It's why we like certain football teams and hate their rivals, and why we want to be part of sororities and fraternities and Boy Scout troops and churches. I mean, it's all the same wiring. We need to have a tribe to belong in. Why people are vehemently Democrat or Republican, because they belong to something, right? So absolutely true. That's a great point. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, if he gets turned down for a movie role, or he gets divorced by Maria Shriver, remember when that happened? And he gets ostracized, rejected. He feels the same pain as everybody else. You would think because he's Arnold Schwarzenegger, because he's the Terminator and all that kind of stuff, he'd be invincible, but he's really not. He's not invincible. He feels the same pain, and the same amount of pain. Everybody feels the same amount of pain. Nobody is immune. It doesn't matter if you're the president of the United States. It doesn't matter if you are little old lady across the street. It doesn't matter if you're a school-age kid. It doesn't really make any difference. Everybody feels the same amount of pain when they get rejected by somebody. So, listen, you're normal. If you felt this way and it happens to you, it's absolutely perfectly normal. The difference between Arnold Schwarzenegger and the kid, for instance, when the kid gets rejected, it may take him a lifetime to get over that, frankly. Depends on the kind of rejection that the kid endured. But when Arnold Schwarzenegger gets rejected, he hurts like everybody else, but he gets past it quicker. So the difference in strong-willed, strong-minded individuals and people that aren't so robust, psychologically robust, as Kipling Williams says, is that they bounce back faster. And that's it. They still feel the same amount of pain, but they feel it for a lot less. So has anybody ever known anybody like that? Like they get shot down, they get rejected, they get fired, and they seem to kind of bounce back really fast? That's a person that's pretty psychologically robust. That's what we want to do. We cannot make ourselves immune to the pain of rejection. What we can make ourselves immune to is having to sit there for years and years. Some people take years to get over rejections. Listen, I understand that. There were rejections that I've had to get over. It took me years to get over as well. That doesn't mean that you're not a strong person. Some rejections are stronger than others, right? Getting rejected by a simulated Nazi is not as bad as getting rejected by your mother. Okay, so those are obviously going to be two very different things. So what do we do about this? Well, so that's kind of where I come in here. Is that hypnotherapy? This is what we do. It provides a therapeutic pathway for healing from ostracism. So there's a variety of ways we can do this. We can heal particular incidents that happen. We can allow you to rise above it. We can find resources inside of you that you never knew were possible. We can forgive people, psychological strengthening, focusing on positive outcomes, reframing the rejection as maybe this is a good thing. Did anybody ever? Let me go back to the screen here. I won't switch screens, but I am curious. Has anybody ever dodged a bullet? Has anybody ever dodged a bullet where they got rejected by somebody, and it was actually ended up being a good thing? I'd love to hear that. Whether you're again watching the recording or listening to the live. I'd love to hear that. Personally, I have to push myself. Personally, it takes years, though. I'm working on making it quicker due to life and time. Right. Well, that's what we're doing here. We're going to do a little bit of that work here. We're not going to, I don't do deep hypnotherapy in these 7:30, in these freebie sessions here. I do that in my deep dive group, my paid group. They get the deeper dive hypnosis. But has anybody ever dodged a bullet? I'm sort of curious as to the answer to that question. Because Lord knows I've dodged a few bullets. Professionally, personally. I've had to end friendships. So let's talk about that for a second. Being on the other side of rejection, it hurts you just as badly. Kipling Williams actually found that he did experiments on this too. The only difference between being rejected and rejecting, it has the same physiological. It actually hurts everybody because we're all wired to be in this together. The only difference was the person that was doing the rejecting had a bigger sense of control, and that was about it. The same parts of the brain lit up. The same pain happened in their head. It's not like if you have to pull the trigger and break up with somebody, that is not a very pleasant experience. Oh yeah, some change their reasons to avoid rejection. Raymond says, "Yeah, interesting. Times I knew it was coming." So nobody wants to admit it to dodging a bullet. That's fine. Maybe if you're watching the recording, you can admit to dodging a bullet there. I think that's a pretty good. I think it's a pretty good thing. I know that I've dodged a few bullets in my time. So yeah, let's see here. So what do we do about this? So that's why we go back into hypnotherapy here. So we can actually find the resources that are necessary. Because you have those resources. You just maybe have to put them together, right? And I've helped people with this. I've helped people get over past rejections, and I've helped them become more resilient toward new rejections. And that's really what you want, is you want to be that kind of robust person. Jennifer says, same as when you interview, several candidates have to turn some down. Yeah, it makes you feel bad. Giving rejection and being rejected, actually, Kipling Williams, one of the things that he did in his office, this was when he was in Toledo, he everybody got ostracized for one day of the week. So you were supposed to come in, and if your day was Tuesday, everybody was supposed to ignore you on Tuesday. And he measured, they were able to, like, it was journaling, it was kind of a soft science kind of experiment, but how people felt through the day. Nobody felt good about it. Whether you were the one being ostracized, so everybody got a chance to be ostracized in the office. And the task was you're supposed to ignore the person as much as you could. And they reported sadness and physiological problems, and so did the people that were doing the rejecting. And I think that's absolutely fascinating. So here's what I want you to do. We're going to do just a little bit of light hypnosis here, just light hypnosis. I just want you to get nice and comfortable. I just want you to find a spot to stare at. You can stare at this man in the tunnel. Just let your eyes just focus on that, or you can focus on something in the room. Just notice your breathing. Notice what the chair feels like underneath you or the bed. Just breathe. Staring at that spot. No matter what you're staring at, just let your eyes just fixate on it. And when you're ready, let your eyes just gently close. Your eyes just gently close. Just breathe. I'm going to snap my fingers. Every time I snap my fingers, I'm going to let you go deeper. So I'm going to give you instructions that we're going to do it. The first time I snap my fingers like this, I want you just to let yourself double your mental and physical relaxation. Second time I do it, I want you to go twice as deep again. And the third time, I want you to go all the way down. I want you to imagine you're a feather on the wind, and you're just drifting back and forth, until you touch the ground. Get ready, here we go. Yourself double your mental and physical relaxation. Double your mental and physical relaxation again. Floating on the wind, just going down. Down deeper, just a little deeper now. And I want you just to picture in your mind's eye that you are in a very dark place, a physically dark place. And that you are frightened, and that you are scared, and you are lost, because this is what happens to your brain on rejection. Maybe you can equate this or remember a time in which you felt this way. Maybe it was recent. And I want you just to start walking. I want you to imagine yourself walking. And all of a sudden you see a pinprick of light. And you walk toward that pinprick of light, and all of a sudden you start to pick up speed. If there's something in you that no longer has to feel slow and sluggish, you can let go of that now. And you can move yourself even faster. You start to pick up the pace. You start to move even faster. Walking fast, and then a slight jog, and then just imagine your body is in the right place, in the right shape to just go full speed toward that light, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger the faster you go. And imagine emerging out into the light, your eyes adjusting, feeling the warmth of the sun on you, and running even farther away from that tunnel, that cave that you were in. And the farther you get, the faster you go, and the faster you go, the better you feel. I'd like you to go just a little bit deeper now. Just a little bit deeper. I'd like you to make any and all changes that you need to strengthen yourself, to find a brand new resource. Whether that resource is inside of you or you go looking for that resource, such as hypnotherapy, more hypnotherapy, or some guided meditation, classes on emotional intelligence, whatever it is that you need, that your mind is set on finding a brand new resource that will allow you to run toward the light faster whenever you find yourself in the middle of rejection, in the darkness and the pain of rejection. That you'll have an innate sense of where the light is. You'll be able to move quickly toward that light. And you will find yourself able to emerge from that light faster. That when people turn us down or we have to turn them down, we find that while we can't necessarily rid ourselves of the intensity of the hurt, we can get over it a lot faster. And just imagine what that will be like to feel the pain and the grief for only a moment, and then to be completely on the other side. I like your unconscious mind to hear the sound of my voice. Will give you a new direction and understanding. And if you can even picture somebody who has that psychologically robust character, where they can find the light in the darkness, and that you can even learn to take those qualities on in the deepest part of your unconscious. You begin to do that now. You begin to do that now. Breathing deeply, allowing yourself to relax. Allowing yourself to understand that ostracism does not mean death. You can find ways to curb the old length of time that you used to have to endure. The suffering of any time you've been rejected in memory or in action. And if there are any memories that need to be cleansed, your unconscious mind can rearrange them now, so that you can retain the memory, but lose the emotion. So you can retain the memory and lose the emotion. When you feel as if everything has shifted, then and only then can you open your eyes and come back to full waking consciousness and put here in the comments to let me know that you're back, whether you're listening to the live or the recording. And I'll let you do that now. Oh, that's right. Interesting. Jennifer says, I'm finding that when recalling these memories, I'm finding it's easier to realize that things happen to someone who is no longer who I am. That's right. That's exactly right. We worked on that last week in our main group, Jennifer. Worked on that last week in our main group. Well, so if anybody would like a private session that hasn't had one, watch this. You're going to love this part. Look at this. I can do this thing where you can book a free session. Boom! Look at that. So you can click on that link if you haven't already had a free session with me. We will be doing our normal 8:30 group here in about half an hour if you want to be a part of that. And you can find yourself, let you ask any questions you want to ask. I'm going to remove the offer right now. Boom. I'll put that back on. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Oh, interesting. You respond to each other. I don't really use this much. I've had it for 8 years. Anybody have any questions or comments about this? Love the participation. It's great. A little different than how I used to do the free group here.